No cats. No, no cats in this.
No Gigi today.
No Gigi. He's at home in California, and I'm in Washington State. Hello, everybody. This is the new streamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
This is our pre-Christmas show. So interesting that Christmas is on Monday. I think everybody's a little thrown off by that this year because it only happens every 7 or 8 years, right?
Right. Yeah, it is interesting because it also means New Year's Day is going to be on Monday as well.
Yeah, it's very confusing. So because we're talking about Christmas, we're wondering, are you feeling lonesome over the holidays with Christmas and New Year's? And sometimes people can be lonely because they're alone, and sometimes they can feel lonely if they're not in a good relationship, or something's just ended or is ending. And I think it's hard anyway, but especially we just have to say it out loud. It's extra hard over the holidays to feel your heart is not happy. Your heart is not feeling cared about or loved or getting the kind of attention that you'd like. It's hard.
It is a bit frustrating. I can say it this way. I'm put this on the table now, but the thing is, we have put a lot of onus on Christmas being a particular style and type of celebration, make merry, joyful as things. And relationships oftentimes don't necessarily fit that paradigm when they're not working, or if you're single, because there's a whole belief system. We talked about this before on the show, that being single isn't necessarily the right thing. People judge and believe that being single is not the right thing. Even though we talk about being single actually can be a good thing. So to combine being single at the same time as the holidays, or just being lonely around the holidays, can appear to be, and we will break this down, such a less than joyful experience.
Very much. And then you have the Hallmark movies and the commercials that look like everybody except you is having this glorious time with tons of people that love and care about them. Yeah. It's a lot of pressure. And then Facebook, which, if you really know, whatever you see on Facebook most of the time is only a little tiny microcosm, and not even always the truth with that microcosm. So absolutely. A lot about what we're going to talk about today is how to build yourself up, how to soothe yourself, how to take care of yourself, how to be honest with yourself about what is the status right now and how to get through it so that you'll still be upright at the other side of it, right? On Tuesday, hopefully on Tuesday.
Sound like you get drunk.
Yeah. Well, I think when we feel sad and hurt, our buoy feels like it's listing, and we feel like we're getting swamped by all the waves. And part of the problem is if you're feeling really sad, you could resort to drinking or drugs or oversleeping, overspending. Oh my gosh, this time of year, people can spend just to help themselves try to feel better.
Yeah. And the thing is, and this is the thing, I know that I'm sure we talked about this probably. I mean, we talked about Christmas in previous shows around this time of year because we covered this topic in previous times, this time of year. So I'm not saying this is the first time we talked about this. However, I'm also aware that there are ways, and I don't think it was that long ago we talked about being single out in the world and taking care of yourself and enjoying your own company. The thing with Christmas is, again, and for most of us, we grew up in families where there were real presents. There might have been a Christmas tree. There wasn't in my family, but some families there were. There was presents and gift giving, and there were certain feasts of food together. Now, that's the presumption, and of course, Hallmark movies propagate and perpetrate that idea. But a lot of families were not that functional growing up. So in some ways, to not be with that family could be a blessing as well. So I'm just going to sort of cover all the bases. But it means that on Christmas, and yes, being on a Monday is different too. Christmas has a lot of attached baggage that we sometimes forget that we put in place. The thing about it is that baggage we put in there, we can take it off too. Yeah. So we can make Christmas a much lighter and more joyful experience and a much easier place to play, because it's something that we can celebrate just being ourselves without anybody else around, really. That's a big ask, I know, for some people.
And a really interesting, quirky thing happened today. I'm working while I'm here, and the client I talked to this morning came down with COVID this morning. So all of her plans went out the window. And we talked about, and she had made some good plans, and we came up with some others of, okay, this is a complete U-turn from what you had planned, and it's nothing to do with you at all. And how are you going to make the best of it? And luckily, she's not feeling horrible, but she knew there was maybe something. And so she tested as a good, responsible person and tested positive. So there she is for 10 days with Christmas only a couple days away. So
yeah,
what can you do to make it your time, whether it's going to be with people or without? Because as you said, my mom came from a really terrible family. She was very physically and emotionally abused. And the only day a year was they'd get up, nothing on Christmas Eve. They'd get up Christmas morning, tree decorated, presents under the tree, music, and then it was gone. And so it was very challenging for her to deal with Christmas because it was this huge buildup on that day with all this horribleness around it. So when you say about what baggage you have about it, there could be from times where it was great because you were surrounded by people. It was horrible because you were surrounded by people. It was great because you were alone, terrible because you were alone. To look at, okay, that was all I could do then. You can't have any choices when you're a child about how the celebration went or not. To now as an adult say, well, do I want some of what I had before? How do I create that? Or do I not want any of that? And how can I create something differently? To get really clear about, put that aside, and then take from it what now works for you. So is it something that you like decorating a lot or a little? Did you buy yourself a present? It's still a couple more days. I think it's always advisable to buy yourself a present.
Oh yeah.
And wrap it in pretty paper and ribbon and open it up. Some people have just given me a really hard time about that, about, gosh, does that really mean something? I said, try it for once and see. And they ended up feeling more positive than negative about it. Because, this shows that there's nobody caring about me. Well, you cared about you enough to buy you a present and wrap it and make it pretty.
Yeah. So I was going to say that the experience, just for the experience piece again, I said I grew up in a family, and my dad, I would say my dad was basically lazy. He didn't want to deal with the Christmas tree needles, cleaning up after that sort of thing. So we didn't have a Christmas tree. We decorated a little bit. My brother and I kept asking for it, and we sort of got some basic decorations up, but never the full-on Christmas experience. This could be a couple of decades ago now, damn. I remember back when it happened. I was in a relationship, and my girlfriend at the time and myself went to go visit her family, who were spending the holidays in Sun Valley, Idaho, like by the ski resort. And so we went up there, and we were snowed in on Christmas morning. So it was beautiful sunshine coming down, but white snow everywhere. Where I grew up in England, we didn't get much snow either. Same, I'm in California now, so don't get much snow at all. So snow everywhere, with a roaring fire in the fireplace, a massive tree that must have been at least, it's to the ceiling, it was probably at least about 8 feet wide. It was a very wide tree. And there were boxes and bags of gifts and stuff under the tree, because her family had a lot of grandkids and stuff, and a lot of kids running around. So there was a lot of gifts to give. And to be transparent, I did feel like an outsider at the same time. It wasn't like I'd been in a long-term relationship. We'd only been together a few months. So I didn't feel like I was in the mix. Even though they welcomed me, I still felt like I was still the outsider. But that picture in my head of that picture perfect, frankly, Christmas morning appearance with the snow, the sunshine, the tree, the fireplace, all those things, was something I never had growing up. And it's funny because when I had it, it was really cool. And at the same time, I wasn't attached. So I've had that moment in time as it went by, so we're going, oh, that's interesting, sort of thing, and then moved on to the next thing. So for me, Christmas has really been a more flexible day. It hasn't been necessarily, it has to be a certain type of thing, a certain type of experience, a certain type of memory. And yes, being in a relationship when you're having a wonderful time, or being with family members and giving gifts, is wonderful. But again, the reality is we can buy ourselves what we really want, more perhaps than somebody else can. Oftentimes we get gifts from family members or from loved ones that sit on the shelf, or they're not the right size, or we may go through once then put it away. Yeah. So the amped up feeling about Christmas can sometimes get in the way of just being enjoying your own time, whether it's with yourself or other people. And I just want to say this other piece. I mean, just for those who don't know this either, a tradition I've been involved with now for probably the last 10 years, maybe longer now, is on Christmas Day I get together with a bunch of friends and we do what we call the Jubies, where the Jews go to the movies. That's kind of the joke we have. It's like
Chinese food and movies, right?
Exactly. I've already made reservations at the Chinese restaurant that happens to be open Christmas Day. And we got the movie playing in the morning. We may go to one in the evening, depending on how we feel. So it's just like, it's a very relaxed day, but it's going to be about, 8 of us, 9 of us. And it's just a chance just to hang out because none of us are doing anything, Christmassy like the full thing. And there was, and maybe that's one of the gifts I had of being raised Jewish family. Christmas wasn't such a pressure thing because I know for a lot of people who are more Christian based, Christmas had the Christ part of the conversation. So there's another piece of the puzzle for people is how do you connect if you are in that faith or that teaching? How do you connect to your faith if you're not with your family? Can you still do that when you're alone? Which I would say right away, yes, you can.
Yes. Yes. So, people can say they're lonely in a crowd as well as lonely alone.
Yes.
So you still have a couple days to think about what are you going to do tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, to really think about it. And one year, my plans were very different. And the morning thing that I'd done for a very long time was not going to happen that year. I had an evening thing to do with friends.
Yeah.
So I got ahead of it and went to one of the assisted living places near where I live. And I said, are there people who don't have visitors? And it turned out there were a lot who weren't going to have any visitors on Christmas Day for a variety of reasons. And so I said, would it be okay if I came and visited and brought them a little present? And they were really excited about it. So I went and I found these cute little candle holders that were snowman heads with this big top hat that you would put a candle in, but I didn't do that. So I got candy kisses and I wrapped them in cellophane and put a big bow on it and filled a big bag with them. And I went and they would bring one person, or if it was a couple, they'd bring two people to the library. And they had me in this big chair. I felt a little like Mrs. Claus. And the stories about how they'd met or what kind of job they'd had and what their children were doing now. And they just lit up. And I felt like I was getting back 4 times what I was giving.
Oh, yeah.
And they just kept bringing more people and more people and more people. And then there were a few people who weren't physically able to leave their room. So I went and took somebody with me and sat in the room and talked to them. And then they all fought over who wanted me to sit with their lunchtime table in their dining room.
Nice.
And I got some of the nicest notes. And when I would give them the present, they'd say, for me, and I get to keep it. I go, yeah, because it was really the only thing that some people got. And it made me feel so good and like I'd really given back to other people who, if I was feeling sorry for myself, I decided that I had no reason to feel sorry for myself at all. Right. And so to look at what way could you give back to help somebody else feel a little more Christmassy and for them to feel a little less lonely, because if you're helping somebody else feel less lonely, it'll help you feel less lonely.
Absolutely. The idea, that's the thing I keep remembering, and I think for that reminder too, for those who are listening and watching, the opportunity at Christmas isn't just to be on the receiving end. And this has been said before. I mean, there's been studies on this. Is when you give the gift, oftentimes you get more pleasure out of giving the gift than being the receiver of the gift. So to do something of service, where it is like going to visit, an elder care facility or a homeless shelter, or going to feed the homeless on the streets, even, because I know there are feeding projects that in the cities, they go on Christmas Day because, you can't skip a day when people need to eat. So there are ways of being of service and making a difference that take maybe a couple hours of your time, but it can make a Christmas Day because you realize, in a way, I mean, frankly, it's like, as you were saying, like you could be Mrs. Santa, it's like you could be, Santa Claus, so to speak, by giving something, whether it's giving food or a smile or a loving hand. There's things you can do on Christmas Day that can really touch your own love and light. Even if you don't have anybody at home to be hanging out with, it doesn't matter, because you can actually ride that euphoria, that joy home afterwards, because you've actually spent the day in the service of love, in the service of the gift giving, in the service of Christmas.
Yeah. And then Christmas Eve too, there's a lot of houses of worship You know,
Mhm.
if you have a religion and that's you're part of, or you've been wanting to look at one, or you think the whole thing's a bunch of hooey, but you don't have anything better to do, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
Go. The decorations and the music and the extra warmth. So what you had talked about, I love that you pointed out that you were in this wonderful atmosphere with this girlfriend's family. And even as an outsider, because you really were, I mean, a couple months in, you don't feel like family
Oh,
at all. You were still able to, you allowed yourself, because it's a choice, to
yes.
receive it and let it in. So I hear people listening to my go to a church, well, I don't belong and they don't know me. You can have that attitude. Okay. If you had the attitude of, I'm going to go look at the decorations, I'm going to listen to the music, I'm going to sing songs. I mean, Christmas songs are happy. There's no unhappy Christmas songs. Even the more melodious ones are still have lovely messages. And then there's so many upbeat ones. When you sing and with some feeling in your body, it releases those feel good endorphins.
Right.
So, what I want to say is please don't deprive yourself of some opportunities to let other people give to you, even if they don't know they are. If you're in
Right.
this atmosphere of people that are all dressed up and their Christmas stuff and they're singing, it's going to be catchy, which my poor person with the COVID didn't want to catch that. But this is a really good thing to catch the
Indeed.
Christmas spirit. And, you know, often the churches that, like yours too, where people, I didn't say COVID, where people are really huggy, but at least they're very warm and greeting and they're really happy for you to be there.
Right.
You can think it's phony, but it's truly not. I mean, most of the places of worship I've ever been, and I spent a whole bunch of time in my 20s exploring every church out there because I decided I was going to pick something different than my family because they didn't know anything. Hello, Damien. He's one of my Monday night meetup people on Zoom.
Nice.
That I chose to have a good time and feel good about being there. And it was a choice. You have to decide, I'm going to take from them. I'm going to take feeling good from them. That's okay too, because they're given. And it's often, 100 people, a couple hundred people. Really, Christmas Eve, they do wonderful services. Don't you find
Absolutely.
that at your church
Oh,
too? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, where I got my spirit center, they're doing one Christmas Eve morning, because the
Yeah.
evening the place that we use is booked because we're not in the right place anymore. But the thing is, it's something that you can go I mean, there are so many midnight masses and Christmas Eve celebrations that in all sorts of different genres and flavors that you go to, so that you can really enjoy and explore a different flavor of glory, celebration, honoring. Because the thing is that Christmas, again, it is interesting how the different flavors of Christmas that we were raised with, but also what we take on as being what we think Christmas is about. And oftentimes we forget that it's not about the consumerism and the commercialism. It is about the spirituality. It is about the purity in a way of just celebrating that experience.
Mhm.
But it's all a choice. And yes, I mean, let's be blunt. You can have a choice to be lonesome over the holidays. That is a choice. You can do that, but it's not required. And so these things we're offering you are just a few um, tasters of what's possible to do with yourself. Actually, frankly, most of the stuff is any time of the year, not just Christmas, but especially on Christmas, if you're feeling that pressure or sense of loneliness, to do something that fills you up. And if you do something just, public places that are open on Christmas, there are ice skating rinks around as well. Even LA, there's 2 ice skating rinks that I know they're not far from me that have been opened up for the holidays. Go take yourself to the Christmas movies. There are so many movies out now because now the strikes are over, the movies being released again.
Yeah.
There's opportunities to go celebrate that way too. So you don't have to have an excuse not to do something.
Then Christmas is so much about fellowship and being friendly and talking to people and being warm. And what I find is if you help somebody else feel better, then it's pretty impossible not to feel better yourself. So
Right.
everywhere you go, whatever you do, I have a friend who used to say, put on the mask until it becomes the face when it's for a good reason. So smile, smile. Even if you don't feel like it, smile. And
Right.
people will smile back to you and say good morning or good afternoon or Merry Christmas or Happy Holiday, because they'll say it back to you. And that way, not only are you giving out to somebody else who knows what their day's been like, they could be feeling just as lonely as you, and then you gave them the gift of feeling a little happier, and then they'll give back to you the same gift. And if more people did that, the whole world, I think, it should just be a little bit brighter place.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing we have is that there's so much out there, there's so many places to play. I mean,
Yeah.
I keep coming back to this point because I want to hammer it home because for myself, I spent a couple of years where I didn't do anything, and I felt like sorry for myself, moping around and not feeling great. And I actually remember going way back, that even when the apartment I was living in, the apartment building, there were probably, I don't know, 20 apartments in the building, but there were a few other English people living in the building too. And I remember this is back when I remember Christmas Day, it was like 75, 80 degrees and it was so hot. And we were making a turkey on Christmas Day. And it's basically, we were all like in t-shirts. It was so hot that
Oh
day.
my God.
But we had a lot of fun. And the thing was, is like, we toasted, we celebrated. And so because just to be clear too, there are many single people, adults, maybe friends of yours who aren't out doing something on Christmas, who may be feeling lonely too. Have you checked around with your friends who haven't left town or who haven't gotten up with their families? Maybe you can get together and do something social. Like I said, I'm doing something on Monday on Christmas Day with friends, just because we said we're going to plan this because now it's become an annual tradition. We'll go catch a movie on Christmas Day, because usually on Christmas Day, the movies are quieter. You can get in more easily.
Mhm.
So, things to do.
Yeah, I love the Jubies, because all my Jewish friends have told me that I did that one year with them. We actually had dinner at their house, but they said one of the places that's always open is Chinese restaurants, because they don't
Yes.
celebrate Christmas. And the movie theaters are always open. And they're releasing a bunch of movies at the end of the year, trying to get them for Oscar consideration. So you can get in effortlessly and see. We saw Avatar one year when I went with them, and it was so much fun because it felt like we were doing something extra celebratory.
Yeah.
And especially when you have this thing where you think it has to look this way or smell this way or sound this way, and you can't have that, so then it feels extra hard. So then do something different. It's okay to do something different as long as you enjoy it. That's the really important part, to figure
Yes.
out what it is that you would like. What is something that you've thought about doing? What's something that just seems totally off the wall? So one of the places I was thinking was dog parks. Even if you don't have a dog, can I tell you how much fun dog parks are? Dogs are a blast. They're just so free. Because I have cats. We know that because usually Gigi's walking by because she likes Barry's voice. They are so unconditional love, and everything's fun and everything's free and easy and interesting. And just go sit and watch them play with each other with abandon. It'll help your endorphins. Or go to a shelter, or like where we have Petco and PetSmart, and they have pets for adoption, and just go pet them, just go play with them. They need to keep being socialized so that they'll be available for somebody to take home. You certainly don't have to take them all home. They really, and to cuddle a kitten, I mean, doesn't that just make your heart be happy?
Oh, yeah.
So even you don't have to, if you say, I don't want to do anything with people, okay, go hang out with animals. That's okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's people at the dog park, but you don't even have to talk to them. You can just sit and enjoy the dogs. And there's people at the pet place, but you don't have to talk to them, except could I go in and play with the cats?
Yeah. In
They're
fact,
happy to have you do that.
most of the animal shelters and places like that they actually welcome people, especially on Christmas Day, because frankly, not enough people go over there to play with animals. The animals get left alone, and people running places are too busy to take care of all of them. So if you go in and be an open heart, caring person to the animals, they welcome that. And frankly, yes, you do. Again, like when you give away, you get more back. Absolutely, it's worth doing.
And if you're a gift giving kind of person, then bring blankies or toys, or treats. I mean, the animals will be so happy, and the people there, because, there's only so much they can afford to do all of that. If somebody comes and brings them gifts, how nice is that too? And then the
Absolutely.
other thing is that I found, it's certainly in my neighborhood in California, there's 3 different areas that have beautiful decorations. And you can look on the city's website. They have a community website, and it'll tell you where the lights are and how to get there. And Some of them are walking areas. Some of them are driving areas. There's one in my neighborhood. He does it in Halloween and Christmas, that you park on the residential street, and he decorates his house for Halloween and for Christmas. And then I'm not sure exactly why, but he has his own radio station. There's a big sign that says tune in. And then he sets the music to the lights.
Lights, yeah.
And it goes on for like a half an hour. It is amazing. So you can do it in the car by yourself. You could take a couple people with you. There's always, 4 or 5 or 10 cars there, and we're all like, did you see that? Oh my God. You don't even have to talk to each other. We're just like, that was so clever. And, I think they just must sit in the window and watch all of us going, oh my God. And, there's people lined up on the street that have walked, it's this tiny little residential area. But I get a kick out of it every year when I go by. And I think the family gets a kick out of it, that we all come and watch, because how do you do that? I mean, I have no idea how you sync up that kind of stuff. It's so beyond me, but I love enjoying it.
Well, there's actually a lot of YouTube videos of people who get really creative with that, where they make a whole light show, basically, where all the lights are synced to music, and they have them done for Christmas or for Halloween. But even just watching those videos can give you a sense of joy and celebration, because it's so beautiful. But seeing it in real life is even more special. So the thing about going out to see lights, it's such a simple thing. It doesn't cost you anything, frankly. And most people's neighborhoods have at least 1 or 2 streets, if not houses, that are massively decorated beyond just a few little lights in the window. I mean, it's funny because there's one neighbor's down from me every year. They have on the balcony out front, they have what looks like the silhouette of a Santa Claus trying to climb in the window, but with a spotlight on it, and that shows up every Christmas. It's not there during the year, just Christmas time. So that's like certain things you expect to see. So there's always decorations out there, and frankly, it isn't always most of the biggest and glamorous. It's just the most cool to look at. And there's so many in recent years. There's more inflatable decorations, like big snowmen and other things too. So many different things you can actually have that make life so interesting, and being a witness to that, or a viewer to drive around the neighborhood. I mean, that's the thing I've seen it done before, where they do like have a little local broadcast you can pick it up on your car radio, so you can hear the music to go with the decorations. It's awesome. So good excuse to go and play.
And it was fun walking. Typically my mom and I drove. I turn on the heater on my side, and because she was always too hot, and we have hot chocolate, and we drive through playing Christmas music. So fun. Right. And a couple of times I walked it with friends, and so I talked to the people because they were having parties in their garage, and I'd say, so is there a rule? And they go, oh yeah, when somebody moves in, we go, you need to know. We decorate, and you have to have timers, because even if you're out at a party, your house has to be lit up, because people count on this. And this one neighborhood, it's been going on for so long, that they now have a school nearby that they let people park in the parking lot, and they shuttle them over to watch.
Wow, that's
so popular. Yeah, it's really. And I said, do you love doing this? They go, we love doing it. We start at Thanksgiving. We all talk in the whole neighborhood about, are we going to have a theme, and where, what things are, when are you going to start? And we share ladders. And so what a fun camaraderie. It sounds like just a fun neighborhood to live in. It just was great. And then really fun to visit as an audience person.
Absolutely. And
so
that's
the thing. You don't have to talk to anybody. You could just go in your own little car if you're feeling like you don't want to talk to anybody.
That's what I want to say is that there's so many, and that's the other part too. Let me say it's the ones who really hide out.
You're going to call them out.
Yeah. If you're sitting at home moping around because you haven't really go celebrate Christmas with, and you haven't picked up at least one idea we talked about so far in this show, you've got nobody to blame except yourself. But I really want to say is encourage you. There are things you can do easily, actively. It don't cost you tons of money. Yes, I mean, like New Year's, we're talking about New Year's next week, but New Year's Eve can be a very expensive outlay if you're going to go to these fancy restaurants who put up the prices just for New Year's Eve. But Christmas Day and Christmas Eve, there are so many opportunities to celebrate Christmas in a way that doesn't cost you anything at all. That simply just requires you to put some effort into going somewhere and to maybe looking up on the web where things are happening. I know, like in my part of the world, I know of 2. Descanso Gardens is doing one, and another place is doing one as well. I even think Huntington Gardens is doing as well. There are local like conservatory areas, like gardens that are around, that intentionally celebrate by putting up lights for the evening. So you can go to these places in quotes, after hours. So they have a evening schedule when it's dark. We just go out and see the whole place lit up in a whole different way, which during the day is beautiful as flowers, but in the evening is a whole different thing with lights. So there's, again, opportunities that are abounding. And if you just look in your local neighborhood online, there are so many things and venues you can go to. Yes, some of them will cost you money to park and that sort of thing, but just neighborhoods you can go to watch the light shows and listen to the music. Or, the thing about Christmas, because it's a time of generosity, you don't know who you'll meet who might say, come into the yard and have some hot cocoa around the fire. The places you will go, to quote somebody famous like Dr. Seuss, at the holidays, you don't know yet until you explore. So I encourage you, invite you, nudge you to consider looking at ways to play and celebrate this holiday, especially if you don't have anybody to do it with.
Yes. And to emphasize even more of those kind of places, because we have a couple in where I live, Rogers Garden and Sherman Garden, that they often have carolers and they have Santa. Even as an adult, you can sit on his lap and make a wish, have somebody in your life if
There you
that's
go.
what you're looking for, and have your picture taken. Because if you're feeling low, you might not even get to happy. And the goal is to do a couple of things where you don't feel as low. Just something that you feel less lonely, less frustrated, less sad. And what we hope is that you look at all these things that we're suggesting and you go, okay, what's the least hard? What's the least awful? I mean, hopefully you'd say, gosh, that sounds like fun, and that would be nice. But I know when I've been low, it's hard to think fun. So what would be the least effort? What's something you'd be willing to put yourself out to go do one, maybe two things, and just see? Because hopefully, if you're feeling really low, it's not going to make you feel worse. Right. It'll make you feel, because I don't think it can make you feel worse. And I think it could just make you feel less bad. Because people always go, well, I want to feel better. Well, that's a really good goal. I like that a lot. And I just say the first step is to just feel less bad, and then a little less bad, and a little more less bad. And then you get to good. But it's hard to jump to good if you're feeling bad. So, okay, just little tiny baby steps, like in Mother May. You don't have to do giant steps, because that can feel really overwhelming, especially if you feel lonely. Big thing, going out to a big outing, getting all dressed up, that just might feel like too much pressure. And we're not suggesting you put pressure on yourself. We're suggesting you stick your toe in the water of doing something positive for yourself, something that would feel like you're giving yourself, besides a present and a package, an emotional gift, a mental gift, something that feels like you're making a difference, something that you feel like you would learn something, or you would enjoy watching something or doing something. It's hard. It's hard. It is hard to come up with ideas. And so that's what we're hoping, that you would just go, okay, I could probably do that. I tell people, you don't even have to have a great attitude about it. Just go do it. Just do one thing between now and Tuesday. One thing. Try one thing. Go out and say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to figure out how to get there, and I'm going to go do it no matter what. And maybe I'll see if people want to go with me. If not, I'll just go by myself. Because what I know for me, and what I hear, and Barry and I hear from our clients, is when you do something completely for yourself, it's okay to be selfish, really.
Oh, yeah.
It raises your vibration. It raises your endorphins. It raises your, I'm a good person. I'm an okay person. Because if we keep waiting for other people to make us feel better, it doesn't happen always the way we want it and the timing we want it. We're always available to help ourselves. So even if it's, I'm going to go buy some bath bombs and wrap them up, and then I'm going to take a bubble bath, or I'm going to take a long, luxurious shower, or I'm going to do my nails, or I'm going to get some super extra fuzzy socks. Something that you're giving emotionally, because it's not just the thing, it's that you're giving, because it's why we're feeling lonely. We want somebody to give to us emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. It has to start with you. It just does. It just does.
Yeah, the thing about giving to yourself, and I'll say a couple of things on this too, because what hit me, what came up for me as well, is here's some homework assignments for people who don't necessarily want to go out just yet, and an opportunity you can have is to start doing some things for yourself, like, gifts are about giving yourself. Well, if you don't have the time, the effort, or you don't want to spend the money on buying gifts, you could actually just write down things you're grateful for about your life. Even if it's about being single at this time and not having anybody be with you, you can still find things you're grateful for. And I would strongly recommend this because, being a traditionalist from England, the 12 days of Christmas start Christmas Day and run through January 6th. I would strongly encourage you, if you want to do this, is every day for the 12 days of Christmas, you do a thing you're grateful for. And I would suggest, if you want to be fun with it, do 3 per element, meaning that is the first day of Christmas, you do 3, second day of Christmas, you do 6, third day of Christmas, you do 9. And you keep doing that for 12 days. By the end of that, you'll have well over 100 reasons to be thankful for yourself. Wow. And it could be simple things, little things, that you got up on time this morning, or you had a good breakfast. It could be something as big as I sent the letter to somebody I wanted to send a letter to, or it meant, or you did go out and watch somebody's night decorations. Anything you feel grateful for, do that for yourself. Yeah. And do it do it in a journal, do it in a piece of paper, put them off the wall, whatever you want to do. Even just put it on your hand of your heart and say it to yourself consciously, intentionally. But do that as a homework assignment, because by the time it gets to early January, I can guarantee you'll feel different.
Guaranteed. Oh, Barry, that is the most wonderful advice. I just love that. I just love that. And what's really fun is, Oprah had that gratitude journal person whose name I never remember. And we all got them, and we had to come up with 3 things at the end of every day to write before we went to sleep. And boy, it made us all think about during the day, I have to come up with 3 things tonight.
Right.
So it planted the seed in the front of our brain to consciously say, well, what am I going to write tonight? And as you said, it doesn't have to be big things. It could be, I went out and smelled the air, or I cleaned out that drawer, or I made that phone call, or I said something nice to myself today. When I was thinking about something negative, I said something nice instead. It can be so minor. And what I love about that exercise, and I'm so glad you suggested it, is that when you're thinking about, okay, and I'm going to need to say something, you're thinking about it. And then you're thinking about that you're writing it down. And then you're often doing things because you did it so you could write it down, or you wrote it down so that you will go do something. And you're getting like triple. It's not just one positive thing, not one gratitude, but you are getting it triple. And really, how could it not even make a little difference? That's all we're asking. We're not asking you to feel wonderful at the end of this. Just a difference. Could you feel a little more positive, a little less negative, a little more hopeful? Because that's the hardest thing about Lonesome, I think, is we start feeling hopeless. We think it's always going to feel this way. It's never going to feel better. There's nothing anybody's going to ever do to make it not feel this way. And so even if you're not doing any grand things, if you're just appreciating, there's lots of people that aren't going to wake up tomorrow. You did. There's lots of people that don't have whatever health you have. Lots of people have way less. There used to be this guy on KBC, and he used to call himself Mr. KBC. Turns out his name was Mark. And people would ask him how he was, and he goes, better than most, not as good as some. And I love that he'd say that, because there's always somebody better. Always. And there's always somebody worse. Yep. So to stop comparing only the better, and not compare, but go, oh, look how grateful I am because these people don't have that. They don't have this thing that I have. Yeah, they might have things I don't. Okay. They don't have this thing I have. They don't have a roof over their head. They don't have food in their refrigerator. They don't have a warm house. I mean, if you have, please write all that. They're like, so mundane. That's really something to be grateful for, because lots of people don't have that. So just write every day. And what's really fun is you have to start getting really creative if you're going to do 6 things and then 12 things, which is really kind of fun, because you're going to think, okay, I am going to really start thinking what. And notice is really important, because we're so easily noticing the things that we don't have. It's too hard.
But I want to throw more one thing on just to make it even more, to raise the bar one more level. If you're listening to this and you're feeling like, well, I could do that, or you don't want to do that, or you're not sure about this, let me add one more thing to make it even more self-centric, as we talk about this a lot in our work, is on top of this, and you don't have to do one of these a day. No, 3 a day. I'm going to make it 3. I'm changing the homework on the fly. Is to write down 3 things you love about yourself. To actually start to remember that you are worth loving, first of all. Yeah. But secondly, also to remember that you are the best person in your own life. So by saying, I love this about myself, or I love myself for this, you can use any wording you want. But come up with 3 things a day. Again, if you want to do it over 12 days, that's great. If you want to do it for the rest of your life, go for it. But start doing it now as a opening to start recognizing that 1, you're valuable, 2, that you're lovable, and 3, that you're worth putting the energy into, which you're doing by doing this practice. So yes, gratitude is great, but also what do you love about yourself? And wherever that goes, it goes.
Boy, you're preaching to the choir about that with me. We talk about how much we give that kind of homework to our clients.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because really appreciating the good parts about yourself, really writing it down and recognizing it with no yeah, but.
Indeed.
Not allowed yeah, but.
Yes.
January 1st. Right now, this is good enough. Right now, this is good enough. Yeah, you want to do something. Right now, I'm a nice person. I'm a kind person. I'm a thoughtful person. I'm punctual. I love nature. I'm good to my animals. Just write down those kinds of things, because it pushes back against what we're so much better at, of giving ourselves a hard time. And because this show is a lot about dating, what happens when the more secure and solid your foundation about how worthy you are,
yes,
people complain about their picker, your picker gets way better.
Absolutely.
The more you do this, your picker goes, I would never pick somebody like that again, or I would never allow somebody in my life like that, because I'm worth having better. And this is how you start really solidifying the worthiness.
Exactly.
I love your homework, Barry.
Thank you. I hope people listening do too.
And I want you all to let us know, what did you do? What thing did you pick of our suggestions? And how did it happen? What happened when you did it? What worked? What didn't? What was hard? What was easy? What was frustrating? Are you calling us names when you're trying some of it? Or are you celebrating? We have broad shoulders. We can handle all of that. I'd love to know. Barry and I would just love to know what you take away from this, because this is, we give really good advice, don't you think?
I think so. And so how can they reach out to us?
So yes, thank you, Barry.
You're welcome.
If you would like to talk to us over the holidays, we're here. We're not going anywhere. You can go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com, and click on What's Holding You Back from Love. And you'll have access to my online calendar, and you can schedule a complimentary conversation with me. And let's talk about, how are you doing with the holidays? What are you doing, and how can you have it be better? You can also join my email list through there, and you'll get a repeat of this podcast and hear about all the other things I'm doing, because I'm going to be teaching my class again in January. And then you can also and on my website, you can also click on all my social media, the little symbols. This is where it happens. This is the magic office where my web designer lives. So you can click on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube and
Twitter.
Oh, that whole X thing. I forget it now. You can also send me a personal email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And Barry, please tell people how they can reach you.
Well, I definitely want to hear from people if they attempted my homework, or if they're challenged by my homework, or if they want to do my homework. It's great. So I'll start with the one first. You can send me an email and let me know how you did. Just send the email to barry@barryselby.com. There, that makes it easy. So otherwise, you can go to my website, which is my name again, barryselby.com. And on my website, there is a link. I think it's still up there, because my site's in the middle of being changed. My designer's almost finished fixing it. So if it's still the way it is, at the top of the screen, there's a way you can click on a link to jump in and get a discovery session with me, where we can talk about where you are, what's going on, how you're navigating this, and what you want to do differently going forward, and how you want to have what you want. At the bottom of the screen is a link to join my email list, which is right at the bottom. I think it should be on the news side as well. I'm getting, as I've said last week, my site's finally getting ready to be released. It's not there yet, but it's getting close. So get in there now if you can. It'll be changed going forward. If you want to do the quiz, That's also my website, although you can't see it directly. So send an email to me. I'll send you the quiz so you can check it out, because it's a relationship readiness assessment quiz that is live now. And you find me on social media. All my social media apart from Instagram is my name, Barry Selby. So YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Threads, and Clubhouse. Although I'm not using Clubhouse much anymore. And on Instagram, it's the real Barry Selby. So check us both out. We have lots of content, lots of support, and we're both here to help you.
Mm-hmm. And we're here every week live at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern, and all the times in between. You can then watch our repeats on YouTube and Roku. And then you can also listen and take us shopping, because you're going to go buy yourself a present and go do Christmas lights. You can listen to our podcast while you're going to binge us while you're doing that. And we're on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And then when you go look for us, please like and share it with your friends that are having challenges over the holidays. You know, that must be a nice, generous thing, a gift to give other people, the knowledge that we're out here offering wonderful advice for them. And we would be so happy for you to join us every week and give us your thoughts about what you'd like to have us talk about, what you would like in the future, what you thought about what we've talked about already. I've had a couple of people tell me they've been binging on us. And I said, well, I love hearing that. Nothing to binge.
We're worth binging.
Yes, we are very worth binging. So have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you next week with our pre-New Year's Eve show.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go deep then, too.
Bye for now.